What's going on, guys? Kivox here, and Meekachii, and this annoying cat, Oswind. And we're doing our wrap-up for April. And it was Owls Month.
I failed miserably, just spoiler.
I chose to not do it. I'm going to give you guys the reason.
I know, I even picked up books for you and everything.
I don't like readathons. They ruin books for me. Not that, like, if people like them, that's fine. Like, people always say, like, oh, I'm gonna get flack for this watch. I'm just telling everybody right now. Go ahead. That's you guys. Yeah, you're stupid. Okay, whatever. I'm stupid, but I'm gonna tell you my reasons I don't like doing them. I've done them for years, right? There was a week where I read like 8 books in a week. To me, I read like 8 books in 6 months. You know what I mean? Like, that's my reading style. Like, I like to sit, and I don't have a lot of time, so I enjoy it. But I've done it before, and like, I feel like it's so much. Granted, I feel like some of these readathons are getting better, where they give you a month to read 30 books. You know, like, it's a little bit better. Not really. That's literally the same ratio. So never mind that. But it's like, what, 5, 7, 6 books in a month? Isn't as bad. A lot of people can do that, no problem. But you're forced to, like, read these books, and like, I feel like if I don't like a book, I want to stop reading it. One of the books for today, I got about like a third of the way in, and I'm just like, I don't think I want to read this anymore. Like, I was just like, I started reading something else, and I was just like, this is what I want. Like, this is the type of book that I want to read.
In defense of readathons, I pick from my already large TBR of books that I want to read and choose books. So these are all books that I've decided that I want to read and pick up at some point, and it kind of forces me to do that. Not the case for you. With you, I'm just picking out books for you and shoving them your way, and then you end up hating them. So it's different for me. Like, I love creating my TBR. I love creating my list. I think it's a lot of fun and trying to challenge myself. This month, it was way different and more difficult for me. Like, this is the worst reading month I've had since I can remember.
You just picked all books that you didn't really like.
Yeah.
I only read 2 books this month, but I really liked both of them. One I really liked. The other one I liked, and I'm looking forward to the next ones because I was told that they're better than the first one. The first one's kind of like the intro. But anyway.
The first book that I read this month, that I told Kivox not to read this month, was the book club pick that you guys picked, The Secret History.
Can I start picking the book club books? Because I feel like I never get a say in anything. And I'd say 50% of the time I hate the book. Or I just don't read it because it's like bad. And then sometimes they're good books when I pick them. Mm-hmm. Did you notice that? Whenever I pick the book, they're really good. I'm just like, oh, this is a really good book. Like,
I did not like this book. Oh my God. I don't know why. I kind of know why some people say they like this book. I'm sure they do like it. I'm making
but I don't believe
I'm making it sound bad, but like, I suppose I get why people like it, but I don't, because people tried to explain it to me during the live stream why they liked this book, and I still don't get it. Like, I guess some people like philosophy. That's all fine and good. It's not my cup of tea. I don't like reading about philosophy. There's like a whole like 70-page rant about philosophy in this, and it's got it sprinkled throughout the book.
Maybe you're just boring. Maybe you're just not smart enough for this book.
Very funny.
No, I was just like playing devil's advocate, you know, because like that's what somebody will say. They'll be like, probably. "Oh, maybe you know, the book is just too intelligent for you." That's the same person that would say, "Oh my God, Rick and Morty is like the most deep, intelligent show out there. If people don't like it, it's because they're just not smart enough." I am like in a mood today, guys. What is happening?
I don't think that this book. There are different levels of smartness.
Nice.
I am not a philosophy person. If I liked philosophy, sure, I'm sure I could learn a lot about it, but it bores me to death. There's a lot of that in this. There's a lot of... The one thing that irks me about this book, I can't go into great detail. If you want to know my in-depth thoughts, watch the live stream. But they tell you what happens in the first section of the book. And I thought, like, okay, maybe they'll add this, like, cool twist to it or whatever. No, they literally tell you what happens in the first section And then you're like, okay, what's next? You're just reading about a bunch of characters that suck and they're not good people and they're just like crappy characters and they're not even like well developed in my opinion. They're just like, I just don't like any of the people in this book. I feel like even bad characters, people that are quote unquote not good, can be well developed and well written to where you still enjoy reading about them, but that was not the case for me in this book. I found this incredibly boring. I would have probably DNF'd it if it wasn't the book club pick. But yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, I made these. This is our rating charts. I have one too, look. So we have a rating system from 1 to 5 and all the halves in between. We have DNFs down here and we have the stars. We haven't had any stars yet this year. But are you going to rate it?
Yeah.
Do you know what you gave it? I'm going to guess a
I keep
3.
changing
2.5.
it.
2.5. What'd you give it? It's 1? 1.5?
And 1.5.
Wow.
I think I originally gave it a 2, but like, no.
Look at the spread here. You got a pretty good spread. That sounded weird.
Next book I picked up
Was
Saw Kill
Killa Girls.
I really wanted to like this book. The
Me too.
premise sounded cool.
I like the moths. Like they're
It
scared.
sucked. I'm sorry. All right, that's kind of harsh.
No, it's okay. I like it. That sucked. Tell me why it sucked, girl.
Absolutely would have DNF'd this book 100% if it wasn't for this readathon. I got to the point.
That's miserable.
Get this.
Like, come on.
I wanted to read this book. I chose this for myself, but I would have DNF'd it. My whole thing is like, I got to a point where I was hating everything, and it's like, I gotta finish something, because otherwise I'm finishing nothing this month. I would have DNF'd this. I thought the characters were super bland. The romances in it were really, like, not well done and just kind of awkward. Even, like, the interactions they had with one another were weirdly written. I didn't feel that connection. It was just strange. The story went on like a way different tangent than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more like paranormal. I guess it's still technically paranormal, but it's like demonic, and it's not like, I thought it was more like ghostly and spirity. I don't know. I feel like there's no mystery, there's no intrigue. You kind of know right off the bat what's going on in this area, this island, and I didn't care. I didn't like anything about this book.
But was it written well?
Not really. It was okay. It was written all right.
Not your taste.
Not for me.
Not your cup.
Like I said,
Did it get hype? What is like the
Yeah.
average rating for it? Pretty
I don't
good?
know. People are telling me now that it doesn't have hype, but when I first saw it on BookTube, like, it had hype. So I was excited for it, and it sounded cool. But
Wow, look at that spread.
I give that a 1. I can't. I just, it's not for me. The writing wasn't for me. I couldn't connect with any of the characters. I didn't care about any of them. None of them. Okay.
Okay, 9, tell us what you read.
What do you mean? Yeah? Okay.
Did you read something good? No, okay, you suck. You don't know how to read. You're like me. What are we doing next? Which one?
A DNF for me.
Oh, really? You have one of those?
I feel bad. So it's not that this book was poorly written. So it's The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owens. I feel like if I was in a different mindset, I probably would have finished this book, and maybe I'll decide to in the future, but it really wasn't for me. Like, I thought the premise was really cool, and I was really into, like, the first few chapters. Then it got, like, 9. Then it got really YA. I felt like you got into that situation where...
Wait, what book is it? I don't see it.
I don't have it.
Oh, okay. We'll
You have to
it
put up a picture.
Okay, I was like, where is it? I don't know.
You got into the situation where the characters act older than they are. The 17, 18-year-olds are, like, set out to, like, you know, do these great things. And I'm like, okay, sometimes all right. But I couldn't connect with anything. I didn't really care about any of it. And I was having such a hard time getting into it. And I'm like, why am I torturing myself? So
I think you have this book.
I don't. I looked.
I've seen this cover before.
Yeah, you have.
Where?
I don't know.
Then how would I have seen it? Yeah, you have. I remember when you saw it, but I don't know.
You probably have because it's a famous cover.
Nah, I don't look up books, Meek.
I don't know, but
I think you have that book.
no. Oh, you saw the other one that I have that is the sequel to this.
Oh,
that
okay.
looks very
I thought
similar.
they gave you
they gave me an ebook copy of this.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Can I have my rating?
Yeah, you can have your rating.
So, on Goodreads, I gave it a 2 because it's not that it was poorly written, and it's not that
You have 2 DNFs.
it was
I'm
bad.
so proud of
that
you.
was a dead DNF, though. This one will be a regular DNF. Because it wasn't that it was terrible. I just didn't
There's
care.
2 levels to DNFs.
There are. There's dead DNFs, which are like, I effing hated this book, like, and I just don't care about it at all, and I just couldn't finish it. And then there's this one, which was well written, but I just didn't care for it.
Okay.
So
Cool.
there's 2 levels.
All right, let's do this one next. No, wait. Yeah, let's do this
No,
one.
that is this is whatever.
I'm choosing what's next. You don't tell me what's next. I want to do a book that I started reading.
So this book was my sequel book, like my TBR jar book.
It was. Oh, that was so epic. When
That
we picked that out
was-
of the thing. That was so good.
I was so sad. Because I love Kings of the Wild, and this just fell flat for me. Like, I don't know.
So I knew reading, like last month I said, hey, I started reading this book. It's pretty good, but I don't think you're going to like it. And I think I was right because it did not have the same feel as Kings of the Wild.
Everything I loved about it wasn't there. They sprinkled in some of the characters, but they still didn't even feel like them.
So my favorite part about Kings of the Wild was the characters. The party was amazing.
Yeah.
Like their dynamic and their chemistry together, that was the best part of the book. The story, I didn't really care for. The whole adventure, I didn't really care for. It was their interactions that made it for me. You know what I mean? And this didn't have them.
No.
It just had the rest of the
It had
writing.
a different group of characters, which the characters were good, but
They were too edgy. They were edgelords.
yeah.
Like it's like everybody in that thing was an edgelord. Everybody was like super like, I'm super cool. Like, ugh. They didn't have like enough difference in characters. There was the main character, which she was like she was us. She was the audience, right, coming in not knowing the world and everything.
Yeah, you don't read through Bloody Rose's perspective,
which is very strange. But you're in her party basically, and you're the new member in her party. And by party we mean like like in a video game, like
band,
gang.
No, the band.
So that was I didn't read the whole thing. I stopped about, like I said, this is the one that I stopped about a third of the way through.
These covers though.
It was written well. The world seems really cool, but I just didn't care enough. Like I wish it had more of a connection to the
It's
first
because
one.
like you don't like the world and you don't like the characters.
No, I do like the world.
I mean the adventure, the story.
Got it, yeah.
So it's like
The adventure is very fantasy, like it's kind of high fantasy, but it's very like brutal. It's a very brutal fantasy world. It's not like a magical like society is good. It's like very medieval, brutal.
I almost feel like D&D.
But
vibes.
It depends on the parts of D&D. But yes, no, 100%. There's like definitely like similar races and stuff like that from D&D in it. It was definitely inspired by that fantasy world. But I don't know. I didn't like. I think the writing was good, but it just wasn't my type of fantasy. I think like it was too brutal and too like not enough RPG.
I just couldn't connect with any of the characters really. Like I enjoyed the characters, but I didn't overly love them. I feel like I would wanted to have read through the eyes of someone cooler, if that's not effed up.
No, see, I liked her. I thought that the main character, the one that's new to the party, was the biggest, like the best part about it.
Really?
Yeah, I think you don't know what's going on. You're slowly learning as she learns what's happening. You're learning what's happening. It's like classic, right? It's a classic like way to teach the audience what's happening and everybody can understand. But the rest of the characters were just like so like just like I'm a badass. You know,
Yeah.
like it's just like bloody Rose, like, oh, I got shot in the arm, but I'm okay. It was just a graze.
I mean, it was kind of cool though, because they did. I don't know if you remember, gave her like a
Cloak?
flaw.
Who?
Bloody Rose.
No, I don't remember. I don't think I got that far.
Oh,
What was the flaw?
She does have a flaw. I don't want to spoil it for people.
She has diarrhea.
No.
She's always afraid.
Sort of.
I just guessed it. That was legit guess.
So yeah. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it, but I wouldn't have DNF'd it. But it just, like, I feel because I read Kings of the Wild first, I didn't love it as much.
I wouldn't have read Kings of the Wild if that was the sequel.
I know, right?
If this was the first one, I would have not read the second one.
Which is sad.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, now, like, my thing for 2020 is, if I don't like a book, I stop reading it. I'm not going to force myself to suffer through something. If there's nothing in there that I want to read anymore, I'm done. I'm done. What'd you give it?
I give it a 3.
Yeah, it's pretty good. If I had finished it, that's probably what I would have given it, but I didn't. I don't have very many books on my list. Why did I make such a big thing? I should have just put mine all on one page.
You're not reading it. You didn't finish it.
I may finish it. So I'm not going to put it on the DNF yet. I'll put it on the DNF in December if I don't finish it for the year.
Do you want to talk about one of your books?
No, we could talk about... That was one of my books, you jerk.
True.
Jeez.
All right. Then I read... You're
going to save the best book for last.
No. Me Before You.
Excuse me? I'm saving my book for last.
Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. We have to put up a picture of it because I don't own it. One of those situations where I was trying to fill a prompt for the readathon. I couldn't get through the book, so someone on my Discord suggested this to me, and Overdrive happened to have it for me to read for free, so that's why I read it. I don't own the book, and I'm probably never gonna buy it. It's not that it was bad, but I didn't love it. The ending was completely unexpected to me because I knew nothing about this going into it, and I didn't know the titles of the other books, which I don't recommend looking up those titles if you don't want the ending of this book spoiled for you.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but I think what killed it for me with this book...
The final book in Harry Potter. I was about to spoil this stuff.
Oh.
Or like the 5th book. What happens in the 5th book? Do you remember?
Yes.
The big thing?
Yeah.
Imagine that was the title of the
book. Yeah, basically. So... I think what killed this book ultimately for me was because I am a nurse and I have had patients exactly like him. And I know that, like, I never had, like, a romantic thing with any of these relationships. And even in this book, the romance doesn't happen until, like, way far in. But it's just that interaction, and I kept reading it from, like, a medical perspective, thinking, like, oh, you shouldn't do this, or that's not accurate, or you shouldn't do that, and, like, that's always terrible to, like, read and have that happen, and it takes you out of the story. Because I had a patient exactly like him, I kept just thinking about that patient, and, like, then when the romance thing happened, I was like, no. So, like, I had a weird perspective with this book. If you like medical stuff, and it's not even like it was highly, like, medical. It's not that it was, like, difficult to read, or, like, anyone that doesn't understand, like, you know, that isn't a nurse, like, you can absolutely read it. If you like that type of thing, and you like flawed characters and a little bit of romance, like, you'll probably enjoy it. But I had a really unique perspective on it, and not really unique. I feel like any nurse would probably be in the same situation. So it pulled me out. I don't know. It was okay. Like, the story was good. The ending was unexpected for me, which I guess is good. I cried. I can't see.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you pull it this way, please?
Fine. I'll just block myself. Is that what you want?
Yeah. So I gave it a 3. It's not that it was bad. It was interesting. I wanted to know what was going to happen, but it was just a little awkward for me, personally.
You want to know something funny?
What?
I zoned out that whole explanation of that book. Like,
Wow.
I did not hear, like, any of it almost at all.
Shows how much he loves me.
Yep. Imagine if I had to listen to you the whole time.
Wow. Just wow. Then I read my Rapt book.
No, wait, let's do this one.
I thought you said we were doing all of mine first.
No, I said we're going to save the best one for last.
We'll do this one.
Okay.
So this is my Rapt book. It was so bad. This,
That's
I
the
would have...
sequel.
No, this is the first in a series.
Oh, I thought that was the Robin Hobb one.
No.
The other thief one.
This is actually Mark Lawrence, which shocked me. Because
Martin Lawrence?
Mark Lawrence.
The actor from Bad Boys?
So, he's the one that wrote Red Sister. He wrote One Word Kill that we read.
Martin Lawrence wrote Red Sister and what else? One Word Kill? He wrote those? I'm so impressed. I thought he was just a funny actor.
So, someone actually asked me in my Discord if this was his first book because I was ranting about how much I didn't like it. And I was like, is it his first book? Sure enough, it is his first book. You can absolutely tell there are a ton of flaws in it. And I have read some of his later works, which are much better. So I'm not bashing him as an author.
You think he wrote this before Bad Boys?
Will you stop? I'm not
Sorry.
bashing him as an author. I think he's a great author. It's just I did not like this book. First off, the first thing that just killed me, and it was one of the things that you mentioned about this book right from the get-go, is you always have this issue, not always, but it becomes a big issue writing kids. He was supposed to be 10 to 14 in this book.
Oh.
Those ranges.
Instantly, yeah. Go ahead.
Legit acted like he was 30. I was like,
it's
the
terrible.
whole time, there was no differentiation between his 10-year-old self and his 14-year-old self.
Yeah.
And not to mention, he didn't act his age. They kind of throw in there that he's, like, smart for his age, but they barely put that in there, and then he's literally acting like he's, like, 30 years old the entire time.
Have you ever met a 14-year-old kid?
They aren't smart.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's evil.
No.
But they're
no.
not, like, they
They're
don't
not
act
adults.
like this.
They're not adults. They're
They
kids.
may be book smart, but they're not street smart.
Tell me why you're mad.
Because they're not written like 10 and 14-year-old kids. They could be smart. They may understand the world around them, but they're not going to perceive it in the way that we perceive it. So it's just not well done in that aspect. The story itself just jumped all over the place. Half the time I didn't understand what the heck was going on. I was just, maybe because I just didn't care. But it felt very jumpy, and I was like, I don't care. There's another thing that I hate. Oh, dude, the fat shaming in this book. There was so much fat shaming, and I was like, that's like a thing that authors like don't do anymore, that you don't really see as much anymore because, you know, it's a thing and people get annoyed by it. And I got annoyed by it. It was like, I felt like every chapter had something in it that was shaming people that are overweight and like portraying them in this light that was like bad. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I cannot believe that this is in here this much.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Lawrence is not. It's not like he's like a super skinny guy, you know. Like he's like a averagey, a little bit thicker dude. Did you know that the third movie is called Bad Boys for Life? That doesn't even make sense. That's a name for a fourth movie.
So, I actually started reading one of Kivox's books.
Did you rate this one?
Wait a second.
Oh, I thought you were just skipping to the next book.
I started reading one of his books because I was going to DNF this book. Even though this was a Rapt book, I was like, all right, I know he really wants me to read this book. Originally, I thought that book was, like, much shorter than it is, and that I couldn't finish it, so I only had, like, a couple hours left in this book, so I was like, all right, I guess I have to finish this book. So I finished it. Otherwise, I would have DNF'd it.
What'd you give it, Mick? You gave it a 1, dude. This was the worst month.
Dude,
of
I told
all
you.
Time. You read what, 5, 6 books?
I don't know. I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
Nothing above a 3.
But you finished 5, but you didn't finish 1.
Yes.
Okay. So 6.
Yeah, right?
I don't know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
I'm supposed to know. Cool.
Terrible.
All right. So we're going to go with this one first. 'Cause we're going to save my favorite for last. So this book, can you guys see it? Can you see it? It's called Unsold by Will White.
Not like something is sold at an auction, like it's like your soul.
And this was recommended by a old friend of mine, and he likes similar books that I like.
Is he old, or he's just been a friend of yours a long time?
He's an old man for a long time. Anyway, he recommended. He really likes. Apparently, he taught me this, that lit RPGs are a genre of book that apparently is my favorite genre of book.
He will not let me live this down. Like, ever since he found out that I knew about this ahead of time and I didn't tell him, it's like he hates me.
I do. It's true. You need to make up for it because, like, you let me down. You're supposed to be my book guru, and you did not guru the books for me, okay? This is a lit RPG. I'm gonna tell you right. I'm gonna just rate it. I'm gonna put it on my rating thing. Tell you what I gave it right now.
Is it a star?
So that now,
no, wait, this isn't.
Now I can explain. Did you spoil what my next book is?
I didn't know if it's gonna be a star. I'm saying this is not a star. I meant.
I
gave it a 3.
I gave it a 3. Okay, I'm gonna explain to you why.
I thought you would have liked it more than that.
I gave it a 3. I may like it more.
What is it about?
I may like it more once I read the next book. Because from what I've heard about this book is that this is like the prequel to the real story. Right?
Isn't it short?
It's pretty short. I think it was like the audiobook was only like 8 hours. So it's fairly short, but according to my buddy, it's like the setup for the real story. And everything changes after this point in this book. So this book is just kind of setting up everything. It's like the first couple chapters in a Brandon Sanderson book. It's like the first 10 hours of a Brandon Sanderson book, setting everything up, and then you have the rest of the book afterward. But he just happens to write super long books. So a 3 to me is not a bad book. It is. Because there were points where it slowed down and points that I didn't really care about, but it still kept me interested the whole time. And like I said, it's like the sequel, the second series of the Mistborn series. I liked the first books more after I read the second and third book. I was just like, oh, now that makes me enjoy that much more. Because now I know the characters much better.
Yeah.
I know their motivation. This book had a lot of RPG cool stuff in it. The thing that I didn't like about it is that it was very martial artsy, as in, how did I describe this? How old feudal Japan kind of was, where it was all about honor and your family legacy and don't dishonor your family. And if you are not skilled, I'm not saying that Japan is like this, but I'm saying the classic books and stuff that you read, the tropes is if you're not powerful, then you're just kind of a loser in the family and the tribe. And it was very much like that. And I'm just not a big fan of that. I like the more fantasy part of it, the more fantastical thing. There are powers and there are abilities, and it is a RPG style of book. So I'm really excited about the next one. I hope it's good. I hope it gets better. Cool stuff happens at some points, and the world is cool. And it seems like there's a lot more to the world than initially. The first couple chapters you read, it's like, oh, everything's normal, and then some stuff happens, and you're like, whoa, okay, maybe there's more to this that I didn't realize that there was. And I wish I knew that going in, because that would have kept me more interested towards the beginning. The beginning was kind of slow, because I was just like, this is kind of boring, And then once I got to that point, I was like, oh, halfway through, it's like, oh.
Is it kind of what's that book we read that people kept loving? Loch Lamora. Where it's the world is but then you would get a little magical element.
No, it's more than that.
Okay.
It's not that subtle. It's you learn you're oh shoot, oh man.
Gotcha.
That's pretty crazy. You know, that type of stuff. I don't want to spoil anything. I feel like I've already told you enough, maybe a little bit too much.
I feel like I know nothing about this book.
Good. Okay, next up. Best book of the year. Contester, at least. Contester? Contester?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
The name of the book is, I always get this backwards.
Apocalypse?
Reborn Apocalypse.
Yep.
I always get it backwards. Oop. Reborn Apocalypse, Volume 1. And
so this is the book that I thought was shorter, and I started reading to replace this book, but I couldn't finish it, so I'm in the middle of reading this book.
So I'm going to just rate it right away because it's easier to do that, and then I could talk about it. So this is my first star. I'm going to actually put it over here and then work my way out from the middle. So this is my first star of the year. It is, it's above a 5. I loved it the whole time. I just wanted to get to the end.
You listened to it at 1x speed.
I listened to it at 1x speed. That is not a normal thing for me.
I'm not even doing that.
I wanted to absorb everything and like make sure I understand everything.
By the way, this book only comes out in Kindle and audio. So that's why we don't have a physical copy of it.
Yeah. I really like it. Oh, who is it by? I didn't even say who it's by. L.M. Kerr.
And like the character in the book has his name.
You've checked that? It is
no,
Kerr?
I didn't check the writing, but it's like he said it again.
Yeah.
And it's like Michael Kerr.
It is the epitome of a lit RPG, in my opinion. It is, to me, on par with Sufficiently Advanced Magic. That is my favorite other RPG book.
Is it weird that I get like Sword Art Online vibes?
Yeah, no, it's not weird because that's a lit RPG as well. It's just an anime version of it.
That's what I get when I'm reading it. Like if you like Sword Art Online, you'll probably like it.
So it is. Can I say like the premise of it? I can, right? Like the world and stuff.
I wouldn't, because I didn't know anything going into it at all. And
no, but not the premise that happens at the beginning, but just like the world that they're in.
No, you should just read it.
Okay,
it's good. I'm like, it's by far the best book that I read this month, and I didn't even finish it.
How about it takes place in our world and another fantasy world?
Okay.
So it takes place in our world and another fantasy world, mostly in the fantasy world, and there's a bunch of cool like.
Basically, the apocalypse is happening.
So there's
but it's not like the stereotypical apocalypse that you're used to.
So as a human in that world, you start off with a certain amount of ability
base
points.
Stats.
Ability points, not base stats. Everybody starts off with base stats, right? But you start off with like ability points or points that you get to spend on like abilities that will abilities. I got it.
D&D vibes. So like
you can buy abilities like being able to transform into a werewolf, right? Like a werewolf transformation, so that you're stronger and blah blah blah, or a vampire one. There are other ones, but those are like kind of like the lesser ones, so I don't want to spoil the cooler ones that they reveal. And as you kill things, you get levels and you get experience and you can spend more points and there's cool stuff like that, and it's a different take on it as well. It's not like a classic, like just like XP to level. Like you technically don't level. You level your abilities. Your abilities get stronger, and you don't technically level. But you
do, because your stats go up.
They do, but there's no level point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like.
Anyway, we're talking too much about it.
Take Sufficiently Advanced Magic. They literally like gain XP, and then their like level goes up. You know, they level up. Their aura changes. Their literal color of their aura changes, and they get to the next level in like cerulean and all that stuff. You know. So
anyway, it's good. It's really you guys should check it out. The audiobook's pretty good.
What are you giving it so far?
So far, probably like a 4.
Okay.
But I'm still only like out of 70 chapters. I'm on chapter
71
14?
chapters. 71 chapters.
18.
The chapters are. I love how the chapters are set up though. Aren't they set up like an episode? Like and like when the new
I haven't noticed.
When the new chapter starts, it like picks up right where it left off.
But it literally like tells you like the first sentence is like what happened last.
Yeah. Well, no, it's like the last.
It's like previously on Lost.
Not really, but it's like the last sentence of the last thing usually. And yeah, it's good.
I'm mad that there's no physical book.
The best part about it is that the character is not like and you may argue with me on this, but the character is not the strongest character, but he is very smart. And I always love slightly weaker characters, but that are very smart. That's what makes him such a good like main character. Take what's his face? Corrin, Sufficiently Advanced Magic. He is not the strongest fighter, but he is intelligent and he picks his battles. He figures out a way to win without being the strongest fighter, without having the best abilities, but he's smart, you know what I mean? How smart they are, right? How smart the main characters are. I know that you may disagree that it's not because he's smart. You think he's powerful. I don't think it's because he's powerful. I think he's powerful because he's smart.
No,
I think that's
agree.
the biggest. Okay, because we talked about it today. You said you disagreed.
No.
You were like, he's really powerful. I'm like, no, he's not. He's really smart.
He is powerful, but you're right. He is powerful because he's smart.
It's the knowledge that gives you the power. Okay. But yeah, that's my favorite part about it. I think he's a great character. I think him and Corrin from Sufficiently Advanced Magic. It's great. Corrin's a little bit weaker though. He's definitely weaker, but more.
Yeah.
But more. Yeah, but just as smart, I would say. I decided to switch from a 3 to a 4 because I was taking a look at this, right? And I don't think it's worse than these books. And I do want to read the next one. So it doesn't feel right to put it down below the equator.
I can't believe you have nothing on the bottom section of this.
Well, I did, but then I changed it because I felt like I wronged this book and I felt dishonored. So guys, if you guys have any opinions on these books, let us know. If you have a differing opinion than I do, I don't care. So don't tell me about it. But if you have something that you want to tell her, go ahead. She'll leave in a comment. We'll try to maybe we'll respond. Maybe I'll talk over her all the time. And
liked any of these books?
Me being mean to her because
just
that's
let
how
me
I
know.
am. Why am I so mean to you?
Or if you disliked any of these
it's
books,
just one of those things. We don't ever know.
Let me know.
That book was written by Martin Lawrence.
No, but seriously, I want to know your opinion. So let me know if you read any of these, if you agree with me or disagree with me. I'm interested to know.
I'm not.
It's not going to change my rating, but...
It's definitely not going to change my rating.
I like to know.
I don't like you.
Me, I know.
No, them.
No, don't be jerk. Don't be jerk.
Don't be jerk. No, be jerk you. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We had fun. Hope you had fun. Leave a comment. Let us know. Like the video if you liked it.
Let it go.
Subscribe. And be like Elsa.
And if you made it to the end of this video, put in the word snowflake.
Ooh, got him. Say bye, Meek.
Bye, Meek.
Bye.